so I just parked at work. It's just before 9. I start at 9. You guys wanted a video about working as well as being a med student, and so today is sort of a day in the life, working and then studying this evening. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I shall speak to you soon. So it's lunchtime, it's about 1:05. I get half an hour for lunch, so what I'm probably going to do is eat my sandwich and get a little bit of revision done. Because it is exam time, I don't like wasting too much time, so I brought my laptop and my iPad with me. And so yeah, I'll do some work. I could go to the library here, but it's a bit far to walk and I'm lazy and the break room is empty, so I'm just going to study here and have my lunch. So yeah, not a great relaxing lunch, but these are some things that you just have to do. So I'm on some medication that makes me so sleepy, and I just want a nap, and so there's no point in revising anymore because it's just not going to go in. I've got how many minutes left? Probably about 5 minutes left in my break, so I'm going to eat my crisps and just rest my brain. I don't want to tire myself out too much because I'm going to revise when I get home tonight anyway. So yeah, let's eat these crisps. So my break's basically done. I've been working in X-ray today, and because it's a Sunday, we don't have any outpatient appointments for X-ray, and they're all just A&E patients or ward referrals. So yeah, it's been not super busy, but not quiet. So yeah. People here at the hospital are really, really lovely, and I really like working in radiology, so that's nice. So yeah, right. Got my rucksack. Time to head back downstairs. So it's about 5:10, 5 past 5. my shift is finished, and I now need to drive back to my flat. I need to set my phone first. Just take it out of here. Okay. Because I don't know the way there or back. I rely on maps. So, okay. Saying it's going to take me 30 minutes. Right, so I've set my phone. So I work 15 miles away from where I live. So it's not too far, it's not super close, but it's not super far. So yeah, I'm just going to put this in. Put some music on. Okay, time to go. I think a lot of people probably wonder why I work. Obviously it's not necessarily something you would want to do. I mean, the thing is that I do absolutely love working in the hospital. Like, if I didn't enjoy being in the hospital environment, then studying medicine would be quite hard, because a lot of your time as a med student is spent in hospitals. And although you can go into so many different routes, you could go into GP, you could go into, I don't know, public health, you could go into pathology. There are so many different routes you could take. No matter which route you eventually end up in, you still have to spend a lot of time in hospitals. I guess my main reason for working is because I need the extra money. If you watch my videos on sort of funding, sort of graduate entry medicine, you'll know that yes, I get a student loan from Student Finance England, and I also get an NHS bursary. The NHS bursary is means tested, but the student finance component for years 2 to 4 isn't. But even with that, depending on where you live, now it's perfectly possible to sort of share a house with some people on the course, or not necessarily on the course, just share a house, and still have money left over from your rent. And up until a couple of months ago, I was able to do that. I was able to budget my money such that I had enough money, when you combined my student finance with my NHS bursary, I had enough money to pay for my rent and for things like, I don't know, summer balls, or like the odd meal out, or buying presents for my friends' birthdays, things like that. I had that money, but at the end of April, I actually moved out of the house that I was sharing, but I rapidly realised that I'm not very good at sharing with other people, especially people I'm friends with. And I know that sounds quite sort of harsh, but in first year I shared with 3 other girls. 2 of them were master's students, and one of them was a medic. She's in the year above, an international student. Now, the thing is about living in that house was that I didn't really speak to my housemates that much. It was very much we do our own thing, we cook our own meals, we don't really talk to each other that much. Not in a horrible way, but just we all had such varied timetables, and we just never really saw each other. We got on perfectly well most of the time, but it just sort of worked. When I moved in with my two friends, we talk a lot, and I'm very much a person who needs her own space, and when I go home I just like to be on my own and decompress and do what I want when I want, and it didn't fit with me. And it has nothing to do with my two friends. They're both great, but so that's why I made the decision to move out, because I was getting quite stressed and it was affecting things like my studying and my sleep, and just it wasn't working well. So I did that, but I moved into a 1-bedroom flat. Obviously I had to increase my budget because I had just moved from sharing sort of a house to having my own flat, and it's actually a really, really lovely flat. And my money from student finance and NHS bursaries doesn't really cover my rent each month, but also the actual process of moving was quite expensive in itself. So because of that, I've had to do quite a lot more shifts recently. And the other thing I do try to do is I try to work on Saturdays and Sundays, just because it interferes less with uni, but also because I get paid a little bit more, and so if I get paid more then I don't need to do as many shifts. At the moment I've been finding really nice shifts where they're in radiology, as you will have seen from today, and my shifts start at 9 and then they finish usually anywhere between 4 and 5, and they're really quite enjoyable, and also depending on where I'm working I can revise as well, so that's good. And because those shifts they don't start too early, so I can get a good night's sleep, but also they finish at a good time, it means that I can sort of go home, I can have some dinner, relax for a little bit, and then I can do some studying or do some work or just do what I would normally do. So it's kind of just the same as doing a day at uni or a day on placement in the hospital, things like that. So it feels like I'm in the same routine as I would normally be. So that's always good. If I can't find a shift that is in radiology or is a sort of 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 shift, then I will do a late shift. I'm very much a night owl, and I like my sleep. So what I do is I often, when I do my late shifts, I'll start at 12 or 1, and then I'll finish at maybe 8 or 9, and then it means that I can do some work in the morning, or alternatively I can stay up late the previous night studying, because I can work really well at night, and then wake up a little bit later in time for work. I don't really do long shifts or long days, so I don't do shifts from, say, 7:30 in the morning until 8 or something like that. I don't have partly the stamina yet, given that I am so busy generally, but also I find that it just tires me out too much, so it's just not a sensible thing for me to do. I think the final thing to say is that because I am working, something does have to give, and I think for me it would be spending time with friends and family. I'm lucky in that I'm known as full bank with NHS professionals, which means I'm not employed by one specific trust, which means that I can work. I can basically add any hospital in the UK that uses NHSP or NHS professionals, and I can book a shift there. So that means that I can book shifts near where I am at uni in sort of Coventry way, or I can book shifts in Oxford if I'm staying at home with mum in Oxford. So it's good because it's very, very flexible, and I think if you were to work whilst studying, you'd need to find a job that is very flexible. I book my own shifts, I book the times, I book the dates, I book the wards, and so it's really, really flexible. I can book it and I can cancel it if it's more than like 3 days, I think, but as long as you give them plenty of notice, you can cancel shifts, which is also really good. So I have just arrived back at my flat, so I'm just going to park and I will see you inside. So the first thing I'll do is have a cup of tea and have my dinner. Sorry, it's about 6:15. If I can get my dinner out of the way, then it means everything's done, and I can just, you know, focus on studying or whatever it is I need to do in the evening. So I've changed out of my hospital uniform because it's got like germs and stuff on it, and so the longer I have it on, the more chance it is that I'm going to get ill. So I've changed out of that and I've got my dinner here, so let me show you what I've got. So this is just sort of standard rice. This is beef in like a Filipino style casserole sauce, and then you've got some beans over there. These were actually grown in Oxford, and they're just cooked with some bacon. So yeah, that's my dinner, and I'm probably going to watch some TV whilst I eat as well. So yeah. So it's about 7 PM. I am now going to do some work. I've had my dinner, I watched a bit of Casualty, just to sort of chill and relax, and one of the downsides of working during the day is that I have to study in the evening. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So my desk is actually a bit of a mess, and I've always found that studying when my flat or my desk or anything is messy just doesn't work. I'm not as productive, so I'm just going to quickly tidy up my desk and sort out my stuff, because it may not look that bad, but to me it's very messy. So I'm just going to clean this all up. You'll probably saw I've got a jug of water. I like to have like fresh cold water next to me when I'm studying, so I don't need to keep getting up to go to and from the fridge. So I just have my Brita jug. But yeah, my desk is looking a lot tidier, and having a tidy desk just sort of encourages me to study more and keeps me a lot more motivated. Sort of, if I have a clear mind, then I have sort of more focus and fewer distractions when it comes to studying. So yeah, I'm glad that my desk is now a little bit tidier. so it's about 8 o'clock, 8:15 now, I think. My brain is starting to get a bit tired, so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to have a cup of tea, maybe do some flashcards, but just generally chill for maybe half an hour, so that I can still do some more revision later on. So it's about 9 p.m. now. Sorry, I've got hiccups. I'm going to try and get through one more lecture this evening. I'm not going to be too bothered if I can't, because I do want to try and be in bed sort of 11:30, 12ish. So I'm just going to see how far I get through it. So yeah, starting to feel a bit sleepy, which is why I'm not too bothered as to how far I get with this, but I'm just going to see how far I get, and then yeah. I don't know if you saw, a lot of my books just fell. Oh yes, we saw it, and we all laughed. Oh well, yeah, so I've finished that lecture. It didn't take anywhere near as long as I was expecting it to. It was all about epigenetics and cancer, and I'd covered a lot of it in quite a bit more detail in undergrad, and somehow I remembered a lot of it, so it wasn't too bad to go over, so that's good. I'm just going to call Mum now, and then I'm going to start getting ready for bed. Hey, yeah, so it's about 11:30 now. I'm going to go to bed now. I've planned what I want to do tomorrow, just so that I have an idea when I wake up and I don't need to waste time trying to decide what lectures I want to revise and things like that. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it sort of shows you how I manage to work and also study at the same time. Obviously I don't work a huge amount, but I do have to work more than I would probably like to. But I hope that you've seen that it is actually manageable to work. I would say though that in first year I definitely wouldn't be able to do quite as much as I do now because it is so intense. So I would always bear that in mind. But yeah, it is possible. I know a lot of my friends work as well. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to message me on Instagram or Twitter, or click on the message system on my website. All of those, you feel free to message me or even send me an email. If you have any questions or anything else, you can also leave them down in the comments below. Please give this video a thumbs up, and I shall see you next time. Bye.